We're counting down the 10 wealthiest Black communities across Russia, a ranking that defies every expectation. Here, wealth is not just rubles, but land ownership, creative power, educational legacy, and generational resilience. From rural collectives leveraging agriculture to urban neighborhoods built on careers, commerce, and strategy, each entry breaks the stereotype of what prosperity looks like in an unexpected place. So what does true wealth mean when the odds are stacked against you? Let's begin our countdown with number 10. In 10th place, a rural settlement known as African Village in the Tver Region redefines what wealth means when economic systems are unpredictable. Here, land is the anchor. Land is priced from 100,000 to 150,000 rubles per hectare, and it offers a foundation that resists market chaos. Families who arrived during the turbulence of the 1990s built their lives around the idea that if the system shifts, the land stays. Agricultural ventures yield 30 to 40% profit margins on wheat, vegetables, and livestock. Government subsidies cover about 1/5 of operational costs and support basic infrastructure such as schools and clinics. Instead of flashy consumption, stability comes from voluntary collectivism. Neighbors share tools and labor, while each family retains ownership and autonomy. Resilience is the measure of wealth here. Wealth is counted in self-sufficiency and the ability to weather change, not invisible luxury. This model stands as a quiet counterpoint to Russia's urban creative economies, grounding the countdown in resilience and lasting value. Number 9, Petrogradsky district in St. Petersburg stands out for its creative approach to building wealth. Here, property values hover around 550,000 rubles per square meter, with residents stacking a median income of 160,000 rubles a month, often boosted by freelance gigs, teaching, and consulting. The roots of this community trace back to Soviet-era exchange programs in the 1960s through the 1980s, when African students and professionals began settling in the area. Today, wealth is measured not just in rubles but in cultural capital. Universities, galleries, and rehearsal spaces form the backbone of daily life, allowing residents to turn artistic respect into a kind of soft shield against emotional and creative extraction. Many in the district claim mixed heritage, growing into their sense of identity through performance, education, and diplomacy. In Petrogradsky, the arts do not just generate income, they offer protection, stability, and a sense of belonging that cannot be easily taxed or taken away. 8th place, Vasily-Ostrovsky district in St. Petersburg, is a study in how patience and education quietly build lasting wealth. Property values here approach 600,000 rubles per square meter, rising at a steady 12% each year. Residents enjoy a monthly income near 170,000 rubles, a significant advantage over the city average. The roots of this community run deep, tracing back to the influx of African students in the 1970s and the 1980s when Soviet universities opened their doors to the world. Over time, those who stayed transformed academic opportunity into generational stability. The district's wealth is not just measured in rubles, but in the strength of its educational pipeline. Degrees lead to careers, which lead to families who put down roots and invest further. Women played a pivotal role, acting as cultural translators in schools and local institutions, often at personal risk, and their reputations became a form of social capital. In Vasily-Ostrovsky, wealth compounds slowly, with trust, education, and reputation accumulating across decades, quietly setting the stage for future generations. Number 7, Zuzino in southeast Moscow is where timing becomes a tool for building wealth. When the new metro line was announced, property prices in the district surged to between 380,000 and 420,000 rubles per square meter. Families who anticipated the infrastructure boom bought early, locking in value before the rest of the city caught on. Household incomes here range from 145,000 to 165,000 rubles a month, but the real power comes from how those incomes are managed. Multiple generations often pool resources under one roof, stacking salaries, side businesses, and remittances to create a stable financial base. 15 to 20% of residents run small enterprises, importing goods, running food stalls, or managing logistics, turning everyday needs into steady profit. New apartment complexes offer gyms, playgrounds, and shared courtyards, and local markets treat West African staples like jollof rice and fufu as everyday foods. Churches and mosques double as information networks, spreading word about jobs, apartments, and business opportunities. In Ziuzino, humor bridges spiritual differences, and youth music signals belonging. Wealth here is tactical. It is about reading the city's next move and making it work for your family. Number 6. Lyubertsy offers a different blueprint for building wealth, one built on stability, planning, and the quiet advantages of suburbia. Property here is far more accessible than in central Moscow, with prices averaging around 350,000 rubles per square meter. Monthly incomes typically range from 140,000 to 160,000 rubles, forming a solid base rather than a ceiling. About 15% of residents participate in startups, spanning everything from mobile phones to beauty services and food delivery, small ventures that add up over time. The real draw is location. A 20-minute train ride puts Moscow's opportunities within easy reach, but without the premium costs or daily stress of city living. Life in Lyubertsy moves at a calmer pace, with routines intentionally kept simple to preserve mental energy for what matters most. For many, not having citizenship means exemption from military service, allowing for long-term planning and financial security. Residents often describe the area as strangely peaceful, a rare feeling for those who have lived in the West. Here, suburbia acts as a buffer, absorbing shocks and creating space for steady, incremental growth. Number 5, Khamovniki stands at the intersection where informal cash economies begin to crystallize into formal wealth. Property here trades at around 400,000 rubles per square meter, reflecting a district where financial activity thrives beneath the surface. Monthly household incomes often reach 150,000 to 170,000 rubles, but much of this earning power flows through cash channels, unregistered and untaxed, yet undeniably real. Afro retail anchors about 1/5 of local commerce, with shops, salons, and market stalls owned and operated by families whose roots stretch back to the turbulent 1990s. These businesses are more than storefronts. They are hubs for remittance corridors that quietly move over $5 million abroad each year, supporting relatives without destabilizing neighborhood finances. Efficiency is built into the household structure. Grandparents, parents, and teenagers all contribute, pooling resources and sharing risk. Matriarchs often hold the keys to property, making the leap from rental to ownership and anchoring economic life for extended families. In Khamovniki, visibility has shifted from a source of vulnerability to a form of local influence, as informal markets and family networks lay the groundwork for lasting assets. This is where cash liquidity becomes real estate, and where the line between hustle and stability begins to blur. Number 4, Khamovniki stands as a living blueprint of how education can serve as both infrastructure and capital. This district is shaped by the gravitational pull of universities, MGMO, research institutes, and technical schools where academic ambition translates directly into long-term assets. Property here commands between 500,000 and 600,000 rubles per square meter, buoyed by steady demand from students and professionals who often begin as renters and transition to owners through rent-to-own arrangements. The average income trajectory starts around 180,000 rubles per month, but the real story is in the rapid jumps that come 5 or 10 years down the line as degrees open doors to careers in law, international relations, engineering, and IT. About 10% of students have African roots, creating a quiet but persistent residency pipeline that turns temporary stays into permanent settlement. Shared apartments evolve into co-owned properties, while study groups become circles of trust that outlast graduation. Here, time spent in transit is converted into productivity, and the boundaries between campus and community blur. Khamovniki is a place where being African in Russia shifts from theory to daily reality, where education isn't just a means to an end, but the foundation for generational wealth and belonging. Coming to the top 3, Zamoskvorekie stands as a blueprint for legacy wealth shaped by institutional ties and prime real estate. Nestled just south of the Kremlin and bordered by the Moscow River, this district commands property values from 700,000 to 800,000 rubles per square meter, with heritage zoning that preserves its historic architecture and ensures ongoing appreciation, averaging 15% per year. The community here is tightly woven into the diplomatic and international fabric of Moscow. Around 600 residents are linked to embassies, non-governmental organizations, and global institutions, drawing steady monthly incomes near 200,000 rubles, often supplemented by foreign stipends, salaries from international organizations, or diplomatic allowances that buffer against local economic swings. Homes are built for extended families, with 4-room and 5-room apartments offering both privacy and a sense of continuity. Security is embedded in daily life, reflected in a crime rate of 0.5 incidents per 1,000 residents, a fraction of city averages thanks to discreet surveillance and community vigilance. This environment transforms the experience of childhood. When fear is removed, ambition can take root and flourish. Parents invest in cultural programs, language tutors, and regular museum visits, framing Russia as an anti-colonial alternative in family conversations and shaping a distinct sense of belonging for mixed heritage children. In Tver, wealth is not simply about accumulation, but about the freedom to move, to learn, and to aspire without constraint. The stability of institutional income and the safety of the neighborhood create a space where legacy is built not just in assets but in the confidence to imagine a future beyond survival. Here, ambition is allowed to breathe, setting the stage for the high-stakes acceleration that follows in Moscow's corporate towers. In second place, Presnensky district, known to many as Moscow City, pushes the concept of black wealth in Russia to its most volatile and accelerated form. Here, the skyline is carved by glass towers and corporate headquarters where property prices range from 900,000 to 1 million rubles per square meter. For the roughly 800 black residents who have carved out a presence in this district, the stakes are high and the rewards can be exponential. Monthly incomes swing dramatically from 220,000 to 400,000 rubles or more, depending on the fortunes of tech startups, crypto ventures, and consulting gigs. Ownership is not always straightforward. Apartments are often acquired through corporate allowances, company leases, or business entities, blurring the lines between personal and professional assets. Security is ever present, with private elevators, controlled building access, and around-the-clock concierge service acting as both a shield and a reminder of the scrutiny that comes with visibility. For many, the metro remains the preferred route, offering speed and a degree of anonymity that high-rise living cannot guarantee. Car ownership is common, but in a city where traffic is relentless, convenience often wins over status. Fame operates as a double-edged sword. Recognition by name or face can soften interactions with police or officials, but it also invites oversight and expectation. In this environment, risk is not just tolerated, it is cultivated as a strategy. Residents sidestep the security of salaried jobs, chasing higher ceilings in industries where volatility is the price of admission. The lesson from Presnensky is that wealth here is never static. It grows quickly but demands constant negotiation of contracts, of reputations, and of the very idea of belonging. Success is measured not just in assets but in the ability to stay ahead of the next shift, to turn visibility into opportunity, and to survive the pressures that come with being both seen and scrutinized at the top of Russia's economic pyramid. And finally, in first place, Khamovniki district stands as the apex of black wealth in Russia, not for its flash, but for its quiet concentration of power and security. Property values here reach between 850,000 and 950,000 rubles per square meter, placing the district firmly among the top 1 or 2% in the country. What sets Khamovniki apart is not just the price tag, but the way wealth is preserved and protected. Roughly 60% of black residents own their homes, an unusually high rate for Moscow's elite neighborhoods. Mortgages are not a lifelong burden. Most were paid off early thanks to purchases made during the late Soviet and post-Soviet years when prices were still within reach. Debt is rare and the strategy is clear: minimize leverage, diversify holdings, and shield assets from volatility. Education is treated as infrastructure here. Median household income is around 250,000 rubles per month, with professional couples often reaching 300,000 to 350,000. The community is overwhelmingly composed of consultants, lawyers, academics, and diplomats, people whose careers offer both local influence and international reach. Families routinely spend 1 to 2 million rubles each year on international schools, private tutors, and language programs. The payoff is generational. Children grow up fluent in both African roots and Moscow's elite codes, navigating a world where many parents say their children are too Russian for Africa, too black for Russia. Khamovniki's infrastructure is built for permanence. The metro delivers with precision, private clinics and international schools are within walking distance, and dining happens in controlled spaces such as embassy receptions, private gyms, and trusted homes. Ownership is not just about property, but about access to decision makers, to institutional power, and to networks that extend beyond the city. Here, wealth stops proving itself and starts protecting itself. It is a model where the truest luxury is the freedom to move quietly, to plan for decades, and to ensure that prosperity is not just earned, but secured for the next generation. Across all 10 communities, one pattern stands out. Wealth here is never just about money. It is about strategy and resilience in the face of invisibility. These communities prove that prosperity adapts, shifting from land to legacy, from risk to protection, often quietly. In a society where visibility brings both opportunity and scrutiny, true wealth means securing a future before anyone else knows you are building it. What surprised you most? Let's discuss below.